Boom. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We are talking about longevity in the Pokemon collecting and investing hobby today. How many of you are going to be here 6 months or 6 years from now? That's what we're talking about today. So sit back, relax, grab a refreshment, and welcome to Pokemarket Lab. All right, a reminder, hit that sub button, hit that like button, and let's get into it. What does longevity in the hobby mean? It means, let's step back and talk about it from a high level view. It's how long people are in this hobby for. Maybe not consecutively, people come and go, but how many people are here doing what we were doing, either from ripping packs, putting singles in a binder, collecting slabs, taking sealed product, putting it on a shelf because they love looking at it for a long period of time, or again, dirty investors, right, want to make money off of this stuff, putting it on shelves and hoping to get a return on that product over a period of time. And I think this is an important question because it's hot right now. It's hotter than ever. I think any social media you're on, even out in public, even going to a Walmart or Target and LGS, you're seeing people who are obviously putting this stuff away. They're in it for the financial side of things, right? And the question is, of course, how long can that go on for? I think the bigger question is, who's going to buy this stuff a few years from now? If everyone's soaking it up now, are all those people diamond hands? Are they going to actually hold on to this stuff? What happens if the market crashes, right? What happens, again, 5 years from now when we want to offload this stuff? Considering the Pokemon company's printing more cards than ever, who's going to be there on the other end of this journey to buy this stuff? Is it going to be more investors? Is it going to be collectors? So I think the longevity of a collector, investor, whomever in this market kind of matters. It matters. I think it's one of the most important questions of the day. And I think we have to, in order to answer this question, we're not going to answer it, but we're going to talk about it. I think we have to talk about the reasons people are in the hobby. I think the start of the bull run that we're in right now was very much organic. I think there's a lot of people realizing Scarlet and Violet was cheap, easily accessible at the time, and we are obviously not at that point now. We are in easily the biggest Pokemon boom there ever has been. In terms of just rate of growth, maybe I shouldn't say ever has been. Maybe the initial launch of Pokemon back in the 90s was bigger from a percentage gain standpoint. You're going from zero to something massive. But this, in modern times, post-COVID, is certainly bigger than the COVID boom. Obviously, there's questions about how long it's going to go on for and everything. But why are people here? You have natural collectors, right? People who have been here, who come in and out of the hobby. Maybe they collect for a period of time, keep that stuff away, come back into the hobby when something grabs their attention. We see that all the time with eras, right? People who are in the Scarlet and Violet era right now, many people I talked to did not have any exposure to Sword and Shield whatsoever. They didn't rip it, so on and so forth. I don't have any exposure to XY era. It's just I wasn't around in that time. We have people that come and go, people that were in XY era and Sun and Moon era, skipped Sword and Shield, and now they're back. There's also people, I would argue, that are here because of the money. They're here because maybe they got some money from maybe they're just looking to invest. Maybe they got a windfall. Maybe they made some money in crypto and they're trying to liquidate that and put that into something that's more real. There's a number of reasons, but I truly believe that there's a large portion of people that are probably watching this video right now that are here because this stuff is up big and they think it's going to continue marching forward, and they're going to be able to earn and do the same thing off that product. And long term, if we were to zoom out from a macro standpoint, that is true. But our vision as humans, especially in the modern era of social media and quick hits and hooks and everything, is so minute. Remember, let's call it 10 months now. At this point, 10 months ago, everything was cheap. I've said this before. I'm sure you'll hate me saying it again. $20 ETBs from Sword and Shield. And Sword and Shield was pumping, remind you. Sword and Shield was pumping. Sword and Shield was doing very well prior to the boom in Scarlet and Violet. And we had $20 ETBs. So this is a 10-month span that we're talking about here. So everyone's hot and crazy for this stuff, but we've only been doing this for 10 months. So again, if we zoom out and we look further back, those of us who have been doing this for a while, we know this will not go on forever. There will be a pullback. I'm not saying there'll be a crash, but there'll be a pullback. And I've said this before, so I repeat myself. There's a large amount of people. We can argue about how many. Rudy says like a third to 40%. I would argue probably closer to 60 to 70% of people that are holding sealed product that if the market turns sideways not sideways, if the market turned down 20% on sealed product across the board on average in value that they would dump and run, probably less than that in terms of downturn. Again, they're here because the product is up. So if you take that out of the equation, they're not here because they love it, right? So that's not enough to keep that product sealed. Thousands of dollars of products sealed, sitting on a shelf. So you take that out of the equation, they're paper hands. They're going to cut, they're going to run. How much of the sealed product that has been sold over the last 10 months is sitting on shelves in the hands of those types of people? And how much of that, if it hit the market at once, that 10% reduction, whatever the cause of that start of that correction would be, would then snowball that correction to a crash? Because all that product, all those people are like, crap, this thing that I was into to make money on is no longer making money. That stuff is up. I might even be upside down on that, right? People buying Destined Rivals booster boxes at $300, assuming, hey, it's going to go to $500. I've had people in my comments, oh, you're going to miss out on the $500 box. Maybe it crashes down. Maybe we get an influx of product. Any number of things, right? Again, so if you're buying at that high level, right, as we talk about risk, upside risk versus downside risk, what happens when that product reduces in price a little bit? And you're upside down. You're like, well, I want to stop the bleeding, right? I don't want. What if it goes to zero? What if it goes to MSRP and I'm upside down $150, right? So again, I think in any market, we're talking about human psychology at the end of the day. And that's why we look at what we can in terms of data, because we're trying to get a handle on human psychology. We can't, obviously, we cannot predict. I think Isaac Newton said it best. I've said this quote before, but I can predict the movement of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people. It is completely, even the stock market, people pay. There's been billions of dollars spent to try to predict things, right? At the end of the day, it's just human psychology. It's unpredictable. So again, going back to what I was talking about earlier, I'm concerned. There's nothing. I'm concerned that, again, a lot of that product is sitting in inexperienced hands, and this is all predicated on the fact that the market will turn down. We don't know when. It could be 2 years from now. We could go to mega evolutions, and this keeps marching upwards, and almost feeling like indefinitely. But again, if we zoom out, if we take a macro standpoint instead of a micro standpoint, it will correct itself at some point. There'll be some form of correction. Again, not necessarily a crash, but we're going to see some pullback. I mean, look at sale product across the board in Scarlet Violet. What kind of pullback have we seen on any product from a sealed standpoint? It's been minimal, maybe 5, 8, 10% reduction in a product because more product came to the market. Even Shrouded Fables is up versus talking about it 6 months ago. It's just across the board. And people buying sealed Pokemon product because it's gone up over time, they've seen the money that's been made, and they assume that's going to go that way for the near future, is really it's speculation. It's a bubble at the end of the day. And again, I'm concerned about how much of the money being spent right now is bubble money, is speculative money, right? And technically what I'm doing, from an investment standpoint, is speculative too, right? It's all speculation at the end of the day, but I've been willing to put the time in. I'm willing to like products. I'm willing to buy stuff no one wants, in the hopes that they will want it, knowing what that longevity of Pokemon is. And we know from a supply side, right, the Pokemon Company is leveraging every single production capacity that they can and bringing more online. And I have a separate video I'm going to do on this, but the Pokemon Company will overshoot on that demand, right? If that demand starts on the supply, they will. If that supply starts dropping off, I can guarantee you, we've seen this in the past, the lead time for production is so long that and even through distribution channels, right, it takes months, years sometimes to plan this stuff out, that they're just now reacting really to the start of the market in terms of increasing production, supply chain, all those things, that the market is always going to move faster than they're able to react to. And so especially if there's a hard stop in the demand side of things, whatever that is, they're going to overshoot on that. And I'm saying a couple of things I probably should have said at the start of the video. This is not to disparage you if you're new. If you have a plan, you're sticking to it, you're following the methodology, you're making sure your emergency funds in order, you're making sure you're not this is hobby investing money, you're making sure your 401k match, all that stuff is in check. If you've been doing this for a long period of time and this is old hat to you, this video is not to disparage anyone. It's not to say I'm better than you or anything like that. It's not even to say don't invest, it's again talking about the risks. It's, well, I don't want to miss out on an evolving skies situation, which is why I'm going to chase Destined Rivals booster boxes at 300. I think, what are they approaching, 350 now, right? And that's not a terrible way. That's not a wrong way of thinking. None of this is wrong. My way of doing things is my way. It's a plan that I've put forth, that I put on paper, that I follow, that works for me, that reduces risk. I'm risk averse in that I want more upside, and I'm willing to miss out. I know what that risk is. There's the risk of losing money, and then there's the risk of losing out and missing out on upside. Those are the two big risks, right? It's cautionary. It's where does the market go from here? And again, no one knows that. We have no idea. I think they will overshoot on reprints. That's not going to be the case anytime soon. I think there's such a backlog of reprints. It's just a cautionary tale. And again, have a plan. I think it's probably worth me putting together a video on a quick start guide for folks that are getting into this. Just, again, even my channel is obviously bringing some new folks in. However small the channel is, people are like, oh, I can do this too, right? I can just put stuff away and forget about it, and this thing that I love, and this thing that's cool, right? And again, it's more like anything else. It's more complicated than that. If it was that easy, it's the time aspect that people don't want, and it seems like people assume, and it's true in the short term, that time is so compressed. Like, again, Destined Rivals is going to be $500 in the next few months, and it may be. But again, the question is, what happens in the next 6 months? No one knows. And can you wait it out if we see any kind of downturn? Are you going to be okay with that? No matter how much I sit up here and say that, or someone like Rudy or any of the PokeTubers out there say that, I think the reality of living through that is very, very different. So again, this is not to say don't invest. This is make sure you have a plan, write it down on paper. Make sure, the biggest thing you can do, again, just make sure you're not putting money that is needed elsewhere. That's a huge thing, because if you do, what happens is that need's going to pop up. If you don't have an emergency fund, something goes, I don't know, you get laid off, right? You're going to end up having to come back and dip into this stuff. And what happens if the market's not up at that point? What happens if you're upside down on it? You lose money, right? So it may not be a conscious choice for you to liquidate that product. It may be life forcing you to liquidate that product. So again, I've had people reach out recently this week. Hey, what do you recommend investing in and everything? And I start number one. Again, this is not this is fundamental that we're trying to give you information on, right? It's not buy this because you're going to make money. It's a methodology. And part of that first thing I reply is, make sure this is hobby money. I cannot stress that enough. And I've made the mistake before. This is why, again, I'm not perfect. Make sure you're not buying the stuff on credit. Make sure you have an emergency fund in place. I cannot tell you how many times I've had to dip into my Pokemon stuff to liquidate because I got a little too close to the line in terms of the emergency fund. So, and sometimes life's going to come up. You could have a $50,000 emergency fund, right? And it's sitting there and not doing anything for you. And then you have to still blow through that and you have to dip it, right? This is just creating a buffer. It's reducing that risk. But again, going back to the original premise here of the video, the longevity of the people that are in the market right now is going to be small. Like I would say, again, these are all guesses. Most people will not be here in a year. If the market turns, most people that are watching right now will not be here. They'll either have liquidated their stuff just to get out of it because it's not doing what they thought it would do. They've forgotten about it and moved on to other things, which is almost good in a way, right? You just forget about it and let it grow. Again, from a macro standpoint, it will grow. There's no question about it. We can argue about how much, but 6 years from now, 5 years from now, it will be up. And then again, I think the liquidity part of things is in part, that's part of the same question. Again, because we have to have buyers for this stuff. And remember, there's going to be a lot more Scarlet and Violet than there was Sword and Shield. And then Sword and Shield, there was a lot more printed than Sun and Moon, which was more heavily printed than XY, right? So all these things, you have to have the volume of buyers. And if I'm talking and saying most people aren't going to be here, so how are we going to have enough buyers for all this stuff, I guess is really the question. And that goes back to the demand side of things. And there's no answer to this. This is just having conversation and thought about this, and I want you to think about this kind of stuff. And that's why I always preach, try to buy as cheap as you can. Use a service like Sleeved, get product, get bundles at MSRP, get product at MSRP whenever you can. That really there's really almost no downside when you're buying product MSRP. If you're buying retail, that there's going to be some risk there. And again, if you've been through this before and you're buying Destin Rivals, I'm picking on Destin Rivals, any of these products right now that are elevated in price, if you're buying them at that price, you've done this before, obviously you don't need me to tell you what to do at this point. So that's our video today. Just kind of face to face, just some thoughts running through my head. I'm on TikTok now, so search Poke Market Lab on TikTok, doing some short form videos over there. I'm an old boomer at this point, so I'm trying to diversify my content here across the board, get the message out, and strike while the iron is hot. And with that, we'll see you on the next one, Poke Market Lab.